Hey everyone, Benz95 and I'm back with a new video, and in this one I'm going to be showing you some recent music finds from the past few weeks. And when I say a few weeks, I actually mean, you know, this is going back as far as late March all the way up until late April. So what I'm going to show you is about a dozen records as well as a few CDs that I got from the mall. And this is probably going to be a two-part series, so yeah, I'm going to start with the records. So without further ado, let's begin the video. First record I'm going to show you is by Traffic. This is their self-titled album from 1968. It's their second album, to be more specific. And this one features the songs You Can All Join In, Pearly Queen, Who Knows What Tomorrow May Bring, Feeling Alright, 40,000 Headmen. You know, really good stuff from Traffic. You know, they're a great early, they're a psychedelic rock, early progressive rock band. They're also very jazz rock, folk rock oriented band. And they're one of the early jam bands of the time, you know, alongside Grateful Dead. You know, they're one of those bands that were, I guess, responsible for, you know, starting the whole jam band thing. So yeah, it's a good album. Next is by the Alan Parsons Project. This is Pyramid. Here's the back. And here's the gatefold. Really nice artwork from Hypnosis. And this album featured, really, there was nothing that was truly, you know, there was not really a big hit off this album except for, I guess, the song Pyromania. But there's another really good song on here called The Eagle Will Rise Again. Just a really good song from this album. And yeah, another really good album by the Alan Parsons Project. They never cease to disappoint. I've been really, you know, hooked on their music. ABC, Beauty Stab. It's their second album. This one features the song That Was Then, But This Is Now. Some others include The Power of Persuasion, which is a really good song. And SOS. Really good album. I mean, it's not considered to be their best album, or it was at the time. At the time, it was not greeted with, you know, a lot of, you know, positive fanfare from critics and fans, I guess, because they kind of went into more of like a harder edged new wave sound. You know, coming off of Lexicon of Love, which sounded more like, you know, it was a very pop oriented, like new wave sound. By the second album, it went to becoming more of like a harder edge new wave sound, and I guess it kind of turned off a lot of people. But nonetheless, it's still a good album. It's still a good listen. Next is by the Moody Blues. This is Long Distance Voyager from 1981. Here's the gatefold. And this album features the songs The Voice and the other big hit, Gemini Dream. Yeah, so The Voice and Gemini Dream were the you know, big hits of this album, as well as another really good song, Talking Out of Turn. Now at the time, you know, this was sort of like this was released around, you know, their comeback period, I guess you can say. A lot of bands, a lot of their progressive rock peers were, you know, at the time kind of going into more of a commercial direction. Others were really not getting anywhere, and they ended up breaking up. Like, for example, Gentle Giant. You know, they didn't quite get it off, you know, to the right start when it was the 1980s. Or actually, it basically fell apart once the 1980s began, and when they had put out their last album, Civilian, it was not successful. So, you know, with some bands that were part of the progressive rock genre going into 1980s, you know, it was just not a good time because, of course, you had new wave and you had all these other, you know, big things going on at the time, MTV. So it just didn't quite work out for progressive rock bands, you know, and yeah. But in the case of the Moody Blues, it was it paid off quite well, and they were still sounding like a pretty good band. So yeah, this is a good album, and they kind of took a bit of like a page out of ELO's book. You know, they kind of sounded a bit like ELO, but nonetheless, it still sounds like Moody Blues. Great progressive rock sound. So yeah, really good album. Next is by Everything But the Girl. This is Idlewild. Some really good, sophisticated pop music from 1988. This features the songs Love Is Here Where I Live, Oxford Street, and Apron Strings. Some really good music. Nice laid-back pop music. Another one by Hall & Oates. This is Bigger Than the Both of Us. This isn't considered to be, you know, one of Hall & Oates' best records from, you know, before they really found like tremendous success in the 1980s with, you know, the albums Private Eyes, H2O, and Big Bang Boom. Basically, this album featured, of course, one of their biggest hits, that being Rich Girl, but there were some other really good songs on here. Can't really know. Actually, one song that I actually liked off this album, or a really good song that John Oates sings on is, what was it called? I can't remember, but yeah, it's a really good song. But yeah, it nonetheless is still a good listen, and you know, can't go wrong with Hall & Oates. Next is by Pere Ubu. This is Terminal Tower, an archival collection. It's a compilation released in 1985 and basically collects material from Pere Ubu that was included on, you know, an EP that was called Databank in the Year Zero, and also includes, you know, some early material, some early stuff that didn't quite make it onto their albums from you know, later on. So one of the best songs off this album, one of the big highlights, is Final Solution. Just such a good song. And there's another really good song on here, I believe, that closed out side one. I can't remember that one either, but still. Some good stuff, you know, really good post-punk, art punk, experimental rock music, you know, just really good stuff. So I'm glad to have that record in my collection. Another by Alan Parsons project. This is Eve. And I've been on a really big, you know, Alan Parsons kick this year. I've gotten like, I think, 3 or 4 albums from Alan Parsons this year, and it's ridiculous. Like I said before, can't go wrong with him. Here's the gatefold. This one's a bit of like a concept album. basically involving Adam and Eve, to kind of put it simply, or not to put any real description into it. To put it simply, it's about like Adam and Eve in some way, I guess you can say. But yeah, there's some good songs in here, and a really funny thing I actually did when I played this record the other day was I played it upside down, or the in reverse. I played side one or side two first, and then I played side one next. So I mean, a mistake I'll never make again, but still, good album. Steve Winwood, Ark of a Diver. Really good solo album from Steve Winwood. This is his second album, which features the songs While You See a Chance and Spanish Dancer. And he was credited for basically playing all of the instruments on this record. So, I really I admire musicians that put all of their effort into providing, all the instruments that by themselves. They basically record an album all by themselves. Multi-instrumentalists I truly admire. Prince being one of them, and another being Todd Rundgren. And the final record I have here is basically a blind buy. When I looked at the record, I thought, this actually looks quite interesting. And basically, it's like a psych garage album. But when I listened to it, I realized it's not really so much a garage psych album. It's more so like a very bluesy, soulful album. It's like Memphis soul. And this is by the band Moloch. And this was their only release from 1969. I read a little bit about them. They were a band that actually recorded in Memphis for, their Memphis band. Recorded at Arden Studios. And, during the time they had recorded, they had supported MC5 and the Stooges. But then later on, it was a very short-lived time for this band, because they broke up about 2 years later. But yeah, they released this album, and some good stuff on here. The one song that really truly is a highlight of this, of course, was the song "Going Down," and another really good song on here is I wish I could remember what that one was called, but it's a very good, groovin', soulful song. But yeah, and I'm going to just read off the hype sticker here, and it says, a supremely successful combination of rock, hard blues, psychedelic, acid-washed guitar solos, and blue-eyed soul. Moloch is a prime example of the widely eclectic music coming from Memphis in 1969. Contains the original recorded version of the Don Nix penned standard "Going Down." So yeah, cut in Memphis at Arden Studios, 180 gram vinyl pressed at Memphis Record Pressing. This was on a Stax Records subsidiary, if I'm pronouncing that right, or just a label of Stax Records, which is called Enterprise. I'll show you the record. It's on the Enterprise label. I never usually take records out of the sleeves and show you, but yeah, I might as well just show you that because I don't remember what the label was called. But yeah, I mean, it's a good listen, So for those who are into garage psych, if you're lucky enough to come across this, I mean, it would be pretty hard to find it in a store, So you'd have to look for it on Discogs. But if you're into like garage psych or blues rock or even soul music, I highly recommend you check this out. It's a good listen, you know. It gets your foot tapping, you know, or it gets your, you know, gets you grooving, which is, you know, if it gets you groove, if you know, if it gets you grooving, then you know that you found something good. So yeah, those are basically all of my records. So leave a like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think, and I will be back real soon with part 2 of my series of music finds. So stay tuned for that, and yeah, I'll see you later.